The night sky over planet Carith was calm, painted in soft blue lights that danced like rivers of wind. The Vaughn people loved these lights. They called them the breath of the stars. Every night they would look up, comforted by the peaceful glow that meant safety, that meant control. But tonight, the sky changed. At first it was just a flicker, a strange shimmer at the edge of the horizon. The watchers on the high towers thought it was a storm, but storms didn't burn red. The glow grew stronger, deep crimson, spilling across the heavens, spreading like fire on water. Within minutes, the entire sky turned into a sheet of living flame. Sirens screamed across the capital. People ran into the streets, staring upward with wide, frightened eyes. No one had ever seen the sky bleed before. "Is it war?" someone shouted. "Is it the suns breaking apart?" No one answered. The communication towers buzzed with static. Long-range scanners blinked with warnings. Unknown energy signatures, unidentified ships, hundreds of them. The Vaughn commander of the defense grid, General Carith Soul, stood frozen as red light poured through the control room windows. His scaled hands trembled. "No fleet was scheduled," he whispered. "Who dares enter our system?" A young officer turned pale. "Sir, the ships, they are silent. No signals, no identification codes. They are not ours." The general narrowed his eyes. "Then whose are they?" For a long moment no one spoke. The screens showed only black ships moving in perfect formation, gliding through space without sound or light. They didn't broadcast anything. They didn't respond to hails. They simply came closer, like ghosts rising from the dark. The old soldier at the corner, a veteran of the ancient wars, took a slow step forward. His voice was cracked with age. "It can't be," he whispered. "They are gone. We ended them. The humans are gone." Every head turned to him. He looked at the red burning sky and said, "But the legends warned us. The humans said, if Earth burns, the stars will burn next." The command center fell silent. Outside, the red glow began to pulse, beating like a giant heart. People on the ground felt it, deep in their bones, a strange rhythm that wasn't natural. The air grew heavy, electric. The world itself seemed to hold its breath. Then came the first sound, a deep, echoing rumble, like thunder rolling through the void. The alien towers shook, windows cracked. And above the clouds a shape broke through, sharp, angular, covered in black armor that swallowed light. A ship, massive, unlike any known design. The Vaughn looked up as it passed overhead, slow and silent. No lights, no sound, just shadow and power. Children cried. The old fell to their knees. The sky was not the sky anymore. It was war, returning from the grave. General Saul barked orders. "Activate planetary shields. Ready ground batteries. If they want a fight, we'll give them one." But when the shields powered up, nothing happened. The energy coils hummed, then died. Systems across the city began to fail. Power grids collapsed one by one. It was as if something was draining their strength, their life. "EMP interference?" asked the officer. "Some kind of—" Before he could finish, every screen went black. Only one line of text appeared, written in an ancient language the Vaughn had not seen for hundreds of years. "We remember." The words burned across the control room monitors. For a few seconds no one moved. Then a second message appeared. "You took our home, now we take the sky." The old soldier gasped, his voice shaking. "It's them, it's the humans." Outside, lightning ripped through the red clouds. More ships emerged, forming a wall of black metal that covered the stars. No weapons fired, but their presence alone felt like the weight of judgment. In the city below, panic spread. The people screamed as strange lights, blue and white, fell from the sky, landing in distant valleys. The ground shook, but there were no explosions. No smoke, just light, controlled, purposeful. The Vaughn didn't understand. If the humans had returned, what did they want? General Sol looked up at the burning sky, his voice a whisper now. They were supposed to be extinct. The young officer turned to him. "Then who are they?" Saul's eyes glowed red in the reflection of fire. "The ones who survived." Above them the giant ship slowly rotated, and for the first time a sound came through the comm channels. It was not speech, it was music. A low, haunting tone, almost like a voice singing through static. Ancient, human. The note echoed across the planet, and every being who heard it felt the same thing, a chill, deep in the soul. They thought the humans were gone. They thought Earth was dead. But as the sky burned brighter, one truth became clear. Humanity had not been destroyed. Humanity had been waiting, and now they had returned. The red glow over planet Carith never faded. It stayed in the sky like a wound that refused to close. For 3 days the Vaughn Empire tried to contact the Silent Fleet. No reply, no signals. Only those black ships hanging above, still and cold, like ghosts made of metal. The people called them the Shadows of Earth. Inside the great council hall, fear spread faster than fire. The 12 rulers of the Vaughn Empire gathered under tall pillars of glass, each face pale and tense. They spoke in whispers, their voices filled with disbelief. "It cannot be the humans," said one. "They were erased. Every record confirms it." Another ruler shook her head. "Then what are those ships doing in our skies? Who else would carry such hate?" Silence fell. Then a young officer stepped forward, Commander Talik Vaughn, head of strategic intelligence. He was calm, but his eyes told a story of sleepless nights. "Honorable Council," he began, "I have searched the archives of the Great Cleansing War. I found something we buried long ago." He tapped a screen, and old footage appeared, grainy and cracked with age. It showed burning cities, falling ships, and humans fighting to the last man. Their faces were scarred, dirty but fierce. They did not beg. They did not surrender. And then the final image, a planet burning. Earth turning into fire. Talik paused. This was the end, or so we believed. But there is one last message sent before Earth went dark. The council leaned forward as a voice began to play, distorted but still powerful, a woman's voice. "If Earth falls, we fall into the stars. We will not die. We will become the storm." The recording ended. For a moment, no one spoke. The room was silent except for the hum of distant thunder from the burning sky. "What does it mean?" asked one of the rulers softly. Talik looked up. "It means they escaped. They didn't die. The humans left Earth before it burned." The council erupted in disbelief. "Impossible! The Empire destroyed their colonies, their ships, everything." But deep down everyone knew the truth. The humans were clever, dangerous, always one step ahead. Talik continued, "These ships, their design doesn't match any known fleet. But the language of their signal, the tone of their transmission, it's ancient Earth code." He pressed another button. A simple message appeared on the holographic screen, transmitted from orbit, repeated every few minutes. Home. One word. One haunting word that echoed through the system like a heartbeat. The council members exchanged uneasy looks. "Home," one asked. "Do they seek revenge? Or do they seek to return?" Talik didn't answer. He had seen the faces in the old war footage. He knew what kind of people they were. Humans didn't beg for peace. They made it, by force if they had to. Far above the planet, inside one of the human ships, Commander Arya Kane watched the same world from her bridge. Her face was calm, her eyes cold, reflecting the red light below. For 200 years humanity had wandered through the dark, broken, scattered, but never gone. They had built the Phoenix fleet piece by piece in the forgotten corners of the galaxy. They had trained, they had rebuilt, and now they had come back. But Arya's mission wasn't simple revenge. She remembered her ancestors' promise. "Never again will anyone burn our home." Her voice echoed through the silent ship. "Hold formation. No fire unless ordered." A young officer turned to her. "Commander, they're afraid. Should we respond to their calls?" Arya's expression didn't change. "No, let them fear the silence. Let them remember what they did." She turned toward the large viewing window, watching the clouds of Carith swirl like smoke. "They wanted us gone," she whispered, "but we became the storm." Down on the planet, General Sewell stood on the defense tower, staring at the sky. He could feel the weight of history pressing on him. If this truly was humanity returned, Then everything the Vaughn Empire built stood on a lie, a victory that never truly happened. He turned to Commander Talik. "Tell me," Sol asked quietly, "if they survived. Why now? Why come back after so long?" Talik looked up at the burning clouds. "Maybe they were waiting," he said, "waiting for the right moment." "And what moment is that?" "When the sky burns," Talik replied softly. That night, strange sounds filled the air, deep mechanical pulses like a heartbeat from the heavens. The Vaughn scientists called it interference, the priests called it punishment, but the people knew what it was. The humans were speaking. No words. No language, just sound, low and steady like the drum of war building in the distance. And in every Vaughn city, children began to ask the same question. If the humans are back, will they forgive us? No one had an answer. As dawn broke over, Kareth, the red sky began to shift again, slowly turning gold as if the fire itself was breathing. In orbit, Arya Kane closed her eyes and whispered, "Phase 2 begins." The ship engines ignited in silence, and the fleet moved forward. The war that ended centuries ago was about to begin again. The ships in the sky did not move. For 7 long hours they hung above planet Kareth like black stars, silent, cold, and waiting. Every scanner, every satellite, every radar was pointed at them, but nothing worked. The systems glitched. The sensors failed. It was as if the ships were invisible to the universe itself. To the people below, it felt like time had stopped. The Vaughn called them the Ghost Fleet. In the great command center, General Sol stood beside Commander Talik, eyes fixed on the holographic screen. It showed the orbit of the human ships, motionless yet terrifying. Talik broke the silence. "No movement. No heat signatures there. Just watching." General Sol frowned. "A fleet that travels across the galaxy doesn't just stop. They're doing something." He was right. The ships weren't sleeping. They were listening. Inside the largest vessel, the human flagship Erebus, thousands of signals ran through the network. AI systems scanned the surface of Kareth, studying every city, every weapon, every sign of life. Commander Arya Kane stood in the middle of the command deck. Around her, blue holograms floated like ghosts, maps, voices, fragments of data from the old war. "Report," she said calmly. Her officer replied, "Planetary defenses down. Power grids unstable. No fleet movement detected." "They're scared, Commander." Arya nodded slowly. "Good. Fear makes them pause. We need them to listen before they fire." She walked toward the viewing glass, where Kareth filled the sky below, beautiful and cruel. The same world that once sent the fire that burned Earth. Her reflection flickered in the red light. "They took our home," she whispered, "but they can't take our memory." Back on Kareth, rumors spread through the streets like wildfire. Some said the humans were angels, come for justice. Others said they were demons, come for revenge. In the lower districts, children pointed to the sky and whispered stories their grandparents once told, stories of the burning of Earth, stories the Vaughn tried to erase. For generations, the Empire had taught that humans were savage, violent, and weak. But deep down, the people always wondered, what if they survived? Now no one needed to wonder anymore. Suddenly the silence ended. Every communication screen across the planet blinked on at once. From tiny shop screens to giant city towers, every device showed the same thing, static. Then a voice, cold, steady, human. "We remember." The same message appeared again, written in bright white text over a black background. Then another line followed. "You took our home. Now we take the stars." Panic spread instantly. People screamed. The military scrambled to restore control. But there was nothing they could do. The message had been transmitted through their own systems. The humans had taken control of the entire network. Talik's voice trembled. "They're inside our systems. All of them." "It's impossible." General Sol stared at the screen. "It's not impossible. It's human." Moments later, a massive shadow passed over the capital. The people looked up as one of the human ships began to descend, slow and silent, like a mountain falling from the sky. Its surface shimmered black, absorbing the light. It didn't make a sound, not even a hum. Then something detached from its hull as a small metal object glowing faint blue. It drifted downward through the atmosphere, trailing light like a falling star. It landed on the roof of the Grand Tower, the heart of the Vaughn Empire. No explosion. No fire. Just a quiet impact and then silence. Security teams rushed to the site. They found a single black capsule standing upright on the roof, humming softly. No weapons, no signal. Just waiting. When the engineers approached, the capsule opened as with a hiss of air. Inside was a piece of cloth. Old, burned, but still recognizable. The flag of Earth. And beneath it, a small metallic plaque with a single message engraved in ancient human language. We are home. General Sol read the words and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Guilt. He turned to Talik. They're not here for destruction. Not yet. They're here to show us what we did. Talik nodded. Then what happens next? Sol looked toward the window, where the ghost fleet floated like silent judges. They give us a chance, he said softly. Their chance to answer. In orbit, Commander Arya watched the data feed from the capsule. She saw the Vaughn retrieving the flag. Her officers waited for her command, to strike, to invade, to end the empire that had once ended them. But Arya stayed silent. Finally, she spoke. Prepare the drones. Phase 3 begins. No deaths, no destruction. Just darkness, her officer frowned. Darkness, she nodded. They took our light once. Now we take theirs. Back on Kareth, the night sky flickered, red to black. Then, one by one, every city light went out. The planet fell into total silence, no power, no communication, no stars, only the ghost fleet above glowing faint blue like spirits watching from the heavens. And in that endless dark, one truth became clear to every living soul on Kareth. The humans had returned. Not as victims, not as conquerors, but as something far greater. As ghosts of the fire they once survived, the world of Kareth was silent. Every city, every home, every ship, all dark. The stars above still burned red, but the surface below was drowned in shadow. The humans had turned off the lights of an entire planet. Without firing a single shot, for the first time in centuries, the proud Vaughn Empire felt powerless. Inside the capital tower, General Sol and Commander Talik stood in the emergency command room, lit only by the red glow from outside. The screens were dead, the power cores offline. Their voices echoed in the emptiness. Talik spoke first. They could have destroyed us, sir. But they didn't. Why? General Sol stared at the window, watching the faint shapes of the ghost fleet hanging in the dark sky. They're making a point, he said. They want us to remember what it feels like, to lose everything in a single night. Talik looked down. So this is justice? Sol shook his head slowly. No, this is a warning. Then the ground trembled. The sound was deep, distant, like thunder crawling through the earth. Soldiers ran to the windows, searching the horizon. Far away, blue-white lights began to appear, hundreds of them, falling from the sky like glowing rain. The humans were coming. Dropships broke through the atmosphere, silent and fast. They didn't crash or burn. They landed with precision, spreading across the planet like seeds of fire. And when the doors opened, figures stepped out, tall, armored, faceless, the soldiers of the Phoenix fleet. Their armor was black with faint blue lines running across it, pulsing like veins. Their helmets had no eyes, only smooth glass that glowed softly in the dark. They moved in silence, no shouting, no chaos, just cold, perfect order. When they reached Vaughn military bases, they didn't shoot. They released short, blinding pulses of light, EMP bursts that shut down every weapon, every drone, every vehicle. Within minutes, the Vaughn army stood blind and unarmed. Talik watched the reports come in through emergency comms. No casualties, he said quietly. They're disabling us. Not killing us, General Sol frowned. Why would an enemy show mercy? Before Talik could answer, the wall speakers came alive with a deep, calm voice. Human. It echoed across every radio frequency on Kareth. This is Commander Arya Kane of the Human Phoenix Fleet. We do not come for conquest. We come for truth. For centuries, your empire told the stars that humanity was gone. You were wrong. The voice was steady, neither angry nor cruel. We remember what you did. We remember the fire. But we also remember the promise that if Earth fell, we would rise. We are not your enemies unless you make us so. Then the signal ended. For a moment, no one spoke. Every soldier, every citizen stood frozen. listening to the silence that followed. Hours later, Commander Talik rode in a patrol craft toward one of the human landing sites. He wanted to see them himself, not as an enemy but as a witness. When he arrived, he saw hundreds of humans standing in formation around their ship, silent as statues. The Vaughn guards aimed their weapons, but the humans didn't react. They weren't here to fight. Talik stepped forward, his voice echoing through the wind. "What do you want from us?" A human soldier turned his head slightly. The helmet opened with a hiss, revealing a pale woman with dark eyes and a scar running across her cheek. She looked tired but calm. Her voice was soft. "We want you to remember," she said, "that we bled, that we burned, that we survived." Talik lowered his weapon slowly. "Why now? Why come back after all this time?" The woman's eyes met his. "Because the galaxy forgot who started the fire." She reached into a small pouch and threw something toward him. He caught it, a small metal tag old and worn. On it was a single word: Earth. Before he could speak, the humans vanished, teleported back into their ship in a flash of light. Later that night, General Soul stared at the relic. He had seen many wars, many deaths, but nothing like this. The humans were not attacking, they were teaching. Every move they made felt like a mirror, forcing the Vaughn to face their past. He turned to Talik. "We won the last war by destroying a world. They're winning this one without firing a shot." Talik nodded. "And somehow, that feels worse." In orbit aboard the Erebus, Commander Arya Kane watched the operation unfold through her holoscreens. Her officers looked to her for orders, but she said nothing. She remembered the history her ancestors told, of burning skies, of loss, of pain. But she also remembered something else: compassion. "They don't understand yet," Arya whispered. "But they will." Her officer asked quietly, "And if they resist?" Arya's eyes turned cold. "Then," she said softly, "the fire returns." As the night deepened over Kareth, strange lights spread across the sky once more, blue, not red this time. The people looked up, waiting for the next move, not knowing whether it would bring peace or the end. The war that ended centuries ago had returned, not with guns, not with bombs, but with silence, justice, and ghosts from the ashes of Earth. The red sky over Kareth had faded, replaced by faint golden light. But the sense of unease remained. Everywhere people whispered, "Who are these humans? Why have they returned?" Inside the central command hall, Commander Talik walked among the chaos. Soldiers were exhausted. Families were frightened. But the humans had not harmed a single civilian. Their purpose was unclear, their presence terrifying. Talik entered a quiet room where the Vaughn military historians stored recovered archives from Earth's last days. Dusty logs, tattered books, and old data drives lay in crates. He picked one up. Its cover was worn, the label faded. Project Phoenix. He flipped through the pages. At first, it seemed like ordinary records, coordinates of hidden colonies, shipbuilding notes, survival protocols. But as he read further, his heart sank. Project Phoenix was a human plan to survive, to rebuild, to return. It detailed how, after Earth was destroyed, survivors fled in small, secret fleets. For centuries they wandered space, learning, training, and building the technology to come back. Every ship, every weapon, every drone was made for a single purpose: to restore humanity, not to destroy. Talik whispered to himself. They never forgot. They waited, and they prepared. Above the planet, Commander Arya Kane watched Kareth through the bridge of the Erebus. Her officers turned to her, waiting for orders to strike, but she shook her head. "Not yet," she said. Her eyes softened, remembering the stories from her ancestors, of fire, of survival, of loss. "Revenge is not our goal," she said quietly. "We came for justice and for balance." One officer asked his commander, "The Vaughn Empire destroyed our home. How can we show balance?" Arya smiled faintly. "By giving them a choice. By proving that we are not monsters. By reminding them who we are." Down on Kareth, Talik had gathered a small group of Vaughn officers to examine the recovered logs. They learned how humans had built fleets in secret star systems, how they had trained for centuries in survival and strategy, and how they had grown stronger from their losses. These humans, Talik said slowly, they are not the ones who lost. We are, General Sol nodded gravely. We burned their home. We thought it ended them. But we only made them stronger. Talik looked at the flag recovered from the capsule earlier. Its fabric was burned, but it still stood, a symbol of survival. They are children of fire, he whispered. Born from the ashes we left behind. Meanwhile, in orbit, Arya sent a galaxy-wide broadcast. Her voice echoed across star systems, calm and clear. We are the children of fire. We have returned not to destroy, but to bring balance. We remember what was taken from us. We will not forget. We will not forgive injustice, but neither will we punish those who surrender. Across Kareth, the message reached every communicator, every screen, every citizen. Fear turned into awe. Some Vaughn worlds, tired of Empire rule, began questioning their loyalty. Whispers spread. Maybe they are right. Maybe it is time for change. Talik and General Sol discussed their next steps. The humans have power beyond our understanding, Talik said, but they are not cruel. They test us to see if we can learn. Sol looked toward the sky, still streaked with faint red from the burned horizon. Then perhaps there is hope. Perhaps this war does not have to end in death. Talik nodded. But make no mistake, sir. They are waiting, watching, and if we fail to understand, they will strike. That night, strange lights moved across the cities. Not attacks, but drones illuminating streets, scanning, observing, teaching. No one was harmed. Every movement had purpose. Every action had meaning. Talik realized the truth. These humans had returned not just to fight, but to remind the galaxy of what it had lost. Not hatred, not conquest, but memory, justice, and a second chance. As dawn broke, Arya watched Kareth's horizon, the golden sun reflecting off black, sleek ships. She whispered, "We are home. And we will shine," her officer asked. "Commander, what happens next?" Arya looked out at the horizon, where the humans and the Vaughn would meet, not as enemies yet, but as the remnants of history, staring across the distance between past sins and future hope. "Next," she said softly, "we teach the stars to remember." The skies above Kareth were alive with movement. Not red this time, not the fire of warning, but blue, steady and glowing, like veins of life across the heavens. The Phoenix fleet had formed a perfect formation, hovering above the planet like silent guardians. On the ground, the Vaughn Empire mobilized its remaining forces. General Sol and Commander Talik stood on the tower, watching the spectacle. Weapons had been reactivated cautiously, but there was no rush to fire. The humans had shown mercy, for now. The tension was electric. Every citizen, every soldier, every observer knew the final moment had arrived. In orbit, Commander Arya Kane looked down at Kareth. The planet she had once seen from afar, a place that had once taken Earth from humanity, now lay under her fleet's watchful eyes. She activated the comms, broadcasting across the planet. "People of Kareth, we come not to destroy. We come to restore balance. You may fear us. You may hate us. But know this, we are the children of fire. We have returned to bring light, not only to our own past, but to the future of the galaxy." The words were calm, firm, impossible to ignore. Talik turned to General Sol. "They speak truth. They are not monsters. But their power, it is absolute," Sol nodded, his jaw tight. "Then we must choose, fight and fall, or listen and survive." Suddenly, from the shadow of the mountains, human ground forces appeared. They moved silently in precise formation, their glowing visors reflecting the dawn. Vaughn soldiers readied weapons, but the humans didn't attack. Instead, they set up small devices across the land, drones, scanners, and energy nodes. They weren't weapons of war. They were instruments of understanding, tools to show the Vaughn that humans had evolved beyond simple destruction. A young Vaughn officer whispered to Talik, "Are they teaching us?" Talik nodded slowly. "Yes, they are showing us the consequence of centuries of cruelty and the possibility of change." Then came the final test. A massive energy pulse from the human fleet disabled the remaining Vaughn orbital weapons, without harming a single human or civilian. The message was clear. Humanity's return was not about conquest, but about control through wisdom. At the same time, drones displayed holographic messages from Earth's survivors, images of burned cities, children fleeing, ships escaping the destruction. The Vaughn saw everything. the history they had tried to erase. Pain, loss, determination, survival. General Sol's eyes filled with regret. We thought we had won, but we only created what we feared. On the Erebus, Arya Kane watched the planet. Her officer asked, "Commander, do we strike now?" Arya shook her head. "No, the lesson is clear. Justice is not in vengeance. It is in choice. If they survive and learn, peace may exist. If they resist, then fire returns." For hours the two forces faced each other. No shots, no chaos. Only the quiet hum of energy fields, the soft glow of drones, and the eyes of two civilizations staring across centuries of history. Finally, General Sol spoke to Talik. "Contact them. Open dialogue. If humans wish to make peace, we must accept." Talik hesitated, then nodded. He activated a long-range comm. "Commander Arya Kane, we wish to speak." "To understand," a pause. Then Arya's voice came, calm and warm. "We accept. Speak freely. We are not here to punish. We are here to restore what was lost, in history and in conscience." Talik exhaled. "Then humanity truly has returned." Arya's eyes softened. "Yes, and we are not alone. We bring hope for those who remember, and for those willing to change." The two leaders met later in the central city under the glow of the newly rising sun. Arya stood tall, her armor reflecting light. Talik approached carefully, aware of the history between their species. "We didn't return to burn the stars," Arya said. "We came to light them again." Talik nodded, understanding the depth of her words. "The galaxy can change," he said quietly, "if we choose to remember." Across Kareth, life slowly returned. Citizens lit their homes. Soldiers rebuilt their posts. Communication systems slowly restored. The humans did not interfere. They watched, guiding where necessary, teaching where mistakes were made. And in orbit, the Phoenix fleet held position, a reminder of survival, of fire, and of hope. The war that once ended, worlds had returned, but this time it ended differently. Not with destruction, but with a chance to learn, to forgive, and to grow. As the sun rose over the horizon, red fading into gold, Arya Kane stood on her bridge. Her officer asked, "Commander." "What now?" She smiled faintly, eyes on Kareth. "Now, we help the stars remember who we are, and what humanity can become." The camera pulled back to reveal the Phoenix fleet, floating silently above the planet, the light of a new dawn reflecting on black metal and blue glows. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had returned, and the future was waiting. End hook. Closing narration. No one expected humans to return until the sky burned. Now they are here, not as conquerors, but as the children of fire, and the stars will never forget them.